credit Joan Fairbanks, who was the founding Access to Justice Board manager for this, because at one point there was so much strife, sort of horizontal strife, which often happens in communities where there is a paucity mentality, like there's not enough. And Joan had said for a period of about 3 years to all of the positional authority people in the Alliance, we need leadership training, because unless we have a common language and understanding of what leadership behaviors are, we'll continue to go into this spiral of internecine conflict. And he did. He went to Wachusett, he spent 2 days, he came back and he said, if we spent the next 400 years trying to develop a leadership curriculum that's so on point about law and justice, legal aid, poverty, we wouldn't be able to do it. This is the model.
Shriver takes what would be considered pretty traditional leadership skills, like strong self-awareness, the ability to communicate strategically and persuasively, working with diverse groups and perspectives, and it integrates those skills with a social justice framework so that the curriculum is particularly relevant to the fellows that we're working with and the advocacy and client and systems work that they're doing. The goal is really to encourage a lot of collaboration and systems level thinking and systems change. Instead of working with one organization at a time, we bring in 30 fellows or so every year, and they meet in person for 4 retreats over the course of the year, and then also engage in online learning activities in between retreats. So we recruit a cohort that is intentionally bringing in attorneys and social justice advocates and supporters and members of community organizations drawn from all across the state, from urban and rural communities. We try to have a cohort that's at least 1/3 of fellows who identify as people of color, and actually this most recent cohort, about 60% of our cohort identified as people of color.
It takes you through a curriculum of really thinking about what leadership means, how to develop leadership.
What are both the theories of it, but practically speaking, how do you carry out? What does it mean to think about leadership in a diverse world? What does it mean to look at the problems we're facing through a racial equity lens?
And in my cohort of the Leadership Academy, there were a number of people of color, and there were issues that arose that really challenged all of us around race equity things, and I learned a tremendous amount about that.
What does it mean to take on really difficult issues and not run away and hide or melt down, but actually come to solutions? What's so powerful about this leadership development effort is pulling together not just legal aid attorneys.
One of the problems with lawyers and legal services is that we can get disconnected from the community. A big challenge always for legal services.
There's now public defenders participating in it, which is important because the civil criminal divide is an artifice, it's not real. It's the same communities, it's the same problems, they're just showing up in different ways.
What attracted me to it is the building relationships, those of us that are like organizers, social workers, community advocates, coming together with folks in the legal arena, and all of us are working on the shared goal of criminal justice reform and with a racial equity lens.
The stories and the lens that I was able to share about behavioral health actually helped some of the attorneys understand some of the barriers that people would what those type of disorders face. And I was also able to learn that there are attorneys out there that are really, really trying to impact change, but might not have the perspective of the specific areas. And so working together collaboratively has really been so beneficial.
It just allows more voices of the impacted to be brought to the table, and also people with different strengths professionally to think of strategic ways to address these problems.
We need everyone to play a part. We need people with law degrees. We need people with social work degrees. We need people who are impacted. We need the wisdom of every human to do this work.
One of the things in the Leadership Academy is people want you to do projects afterwards.
For example, the first cohort of fellows drafted a new set of hallmarks, or sort of a set of core values that the Access to Justice Board subsequently adopted. And then the second cohort, a number of fellows in that group got together with some other Academy alumni, as well as partners from other organizations like the Minority and Justice Commission, so that they could offer learning opportunities around implicit bias and race equity. And that effort was something that the fellows eventually evolved into what's now called the Washington Race Equity and Justice Initiative.
At the end of this cohort in December, there will be 115 people in the movement up-trained into all of these competencies. I would say a third to half of them have taken on greater and greater true leadership, servant leadership responsibilities and felt empowered to do it, and would directly attribute the training that they've gotten to this. So it's having an effect which is very, very positive.
Really, it was very late in my career. It was just very recent, but very transformative for me in terms of thinking about what all of these things mean and how they can be applied to your organization.
The tools coming out of that academy are amazing, and I think are one of the most powerful ways that we are developing leadership in this community.
This past year in 2017, the Leadership Academy transitioned into what was essentially a partnership project that was driven by Shriver and a team of volunteers, and transitioned into a staff nonprofit organization called Just Lead Washington. As we move into 2018, the Academy will mark its 5th anniversary. We will have graduated over 110 fellows, and I will have 30 more coming into the cohort next year. We are starting to take what we're learning through the Academy and bringing that out to more and more organizations through things like training and consulting and CLEs. We have this amazing community of advocates and organizations, and we want to give them the tools, the skills, the relationships they need to be as successful as they can be.
We're able to create some systemic change, not just for our agency, not just for our community, but across the entire state of Washington.